I'm going to ask you a question since you mentioned two different things. One is, of course, we'll talk about psychology a bit more, but you mentioned something interesting, life coach of CEOs of companies. Without obviously getting into any specific details, what is a broad issue do you find, if any, or underlying or recurrent theme when you work with, senior level clients, either owners of companies or CEOs or CFOs in the C-suite? What are the issues they are trying to work around or improve at or get better at or deal with? And is it more their career thing, the career part of their lives, or is it more their home or personal part of their lives, or is it a mix and match of both?
You're asking me that question. I didn't really focus on the performance side. So I was
Okay.
not a performance coach or
Okay.
that area. It was more the issues they felt that were coming up in their lives
Okay.
that may have been blocking them or may not be allowing a trajectory that they wanted.
Exactly.
But it was a combination of personal and usually it comes from the personal
Yeah.
and then projects onto the professional.
Okay.
Right? A lot of anxiety
Okay.
across the board. You
Yeah.
would be amazed where you wouldn't imagine CEOs
Yeah.
being insecure or having anxiety, but they did.
Yeah.
In many different areas, which then of course spills up
Sure.
all over, right? And so I, it's a very intense atmosphere, right? The corporate world, the
Sure.
competition, the
Yeah.
performance, the output, all of that. So I think sometimes feeling overwhelmed or something, so burnt out or very anxious, and wanting to reset that so that the perspective then is not toxic.
Of course. And typically, how long would it take you to achieve a reset? Would it be like?
It's not me achieving a reset.
No,
it's
for
them.
How long would it take you to get them to achieve a reset? Will it be like 10 sessions? Like it would be like a long journey over months?
Yeah. Not 10 sessions is a bit, because first few sessions, we're trying to discover a lot of the information and the contacts and also how people operate, right?
Yeah.
What works for you might not work for someone. Just even the way I may put something.
Sure.
You may understand something differently and better if I put it in a certain way, and somebody else may have a different, trajectory. So it would be about 8 months, 9 months, and also depends on the work the person is doing on themselves. Where are they moving with the information, with the movement of what they are getting from their sessions, how are they applying it into their life. True. So that really defines how long the journey can be. I mean, I think when I was younger, sometimes I threw people out of therapy if they didn't work enough, because I felt that they were wasting their time. Yeah. Because it's not about just coming into a session; it's about using what you're discovering. So I think maybe I've become a little milder now.
And as a practicing psychologist and someone who's done a lot of studies, work, research into that field, did you bring all of your experience and knowledge of psychology into these life coaching sessions, or do you keep those two things kind of totally separate, as in like you have separate pure sessions with clients where you treat them from a psychology standpoint, and other people where you bring it together? Or?
Yeah, you would bring it together. No? Yeah. You would try and integrate it because it needs to be as real as it can be.
Sure.
If it becomes too theoretical and too, about concepts and molds and things like that, then it doesn't become very real and very dynamic. And you want it to be dynamic.
Sure.
So that they can work with the energy of it and work themselves, and you're trying to empower people, right? So you want them to feel that hope and energy and motivation to own certain things, to make the shifts, even though they might be a bit difficult, to leave old habits behind. Because sometimes we get entrenched just in habits because we just know that way of doing things.
Sure.
Or it's our comfort zone. So that movement away takes effort. And the more positive an environment, which is more dynamic and more full of energy, I feel is much more motivating than just a singular concept.
Okay.
idea.
In your own practice now, or over the last few years, you have talked about incorporating principles of the philosophy of Vedanta, which is a thousands of year old Indian philosophy.
Right.
Uh, and you found some similarities between there and the more classical Western approaches to the same subject, psychology. Could you highlight what is it that you do and what similarities or differences you find?
I don't think I've totally analyzed exactly the similarities and difficulty, but once again, the philosophy of Vedanta is very much focused on the self. It's about questioning the self so the self can evolve.
Yeah.
Right? And the whole belief is that the self can evolve through, reading, through awareness, through mindfulness, through care, through, all that sort of thing, through responding rather than reacting.
Yeah.
And which is really, in today's world, that's what we need. Right? We need to be more mindful.
Yeah.
We need to be less aggressive.
Yeah.
We need to be more holistic than individualistic. And unfortunately, we are in a very intense period where the individual is, everything. And we are seeing that society is suffering because of this. And so the philosophy brings, brings a breadth. For example, I'll give you examples. For this, don't make your world so microscopic. Step out and maybe see how you can help maybe somebody else in your sphere of operation. It doesn't have to be some radical change or something like that. Now, I had a client with anorexia, and we did a lot of intense work, and she did recover.
Yeah.
And the recovery in anorexia is very low, and the relapse is also very high.
Of course.
And then, she got stuck in, where she wasn't moving again, where again a lot of more insecurities and a lot of anxiousness was coming up. And one day I decided that, I said, we've talked maybe for 2 years just about you and your fear of operation, but what are you doing for anybody else? Even a family member or, a friend or anything like that. And the question made us stop. Think, question, wonder, and it suddenly opened up that microscopic perspective. It became a little more macro, and then she started stepping out from that very insular perspective that was also limiting her to stepping out, into a bigger sphere and saying it's not just about me, it's also about people around me, and maybe who are the people around me, it's not just the people, my family or my friends, but maybe people I interact with, maybe somebody who's helping me, a caregiver or anything like that. And that widening perspective, I think, helped her also get a more clarity where herself was concerned.
I'd like to hear a little bit about what are in case you are, if there's something that comes to your mind on this subject, because I'm very interested in the approach to human mind and our own reality, which is more the psychology based approach. And then, of course, even going deeper into things like medicine and biophotonic emissions and so on and so forth. So, without getting into all of that, I'm curious to hear if you have any thoughts or things that have struck you.
Whittling it down to being energetic, neurons and protons and all of that, is definitely based on physics. But that is definitely also the Vedanta premise. When you sort of whittle it down. All vibrating energy beings, right, in different forms and combinations, and and then the way forward is that you just want to vibrate the energies to vibrate. I don't want to say at a higher level, but at a more evolved level, and that's why the philosophy is presented as a conversation between Krishna and Arjun on
Yeah.
the eve of a battle,
Sure.
right? And what is it that is required? And so much that we see that, you know, where we get distracted or where we lose our clarity is we don't project enough to see that our world again is not just limited to the gratification, say, of the senses.
Sure.
Right? If we limit our existence to just gratification of our senses, then our perceptions could be completely, completely distorted. We wouldn't even know. So they're saying, don't just, that's just the immediate, your immediate reality. But there are so many more layers for you to discover. And their teaching, the way they talk about teaching is, taking out the veils.
Yes.
Right? Veils that we accumulate through culture, through family, through legacy, through all of that. And taking off those veils so that our vision becomes clearer and clearer.
Absolutely.